weird is it that it's like recording in progress?
You are being recorded.
Yeah. So Emmy, welcome to the Being in a Band podcast. I've been busting to have you on the pod so we can chat officially. Pretty much since I started it, I was like listing off all my friends who I'd want to have on and like talk to. And of course you were top of the list. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad that we finally found a time that I think this is like the third time that we've tried to happen. Our lives are just too busy.
Well, you just come off a national tour. So I guess like first up, how was that?
It was, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was fucking incredible. It was amazing. Like particularly, like after COVID and like the whole, shit show that the past like year and a half has been, it was just really, really like uplifting and heartwarming and joyous to be able to do our first national headline tour, play on the biggest stages that we've like headlined and like the biggest rooms that we've headlined and like sell out heaps of shows and just get to see everyone again and hang with everyone again because it's been so long. Like it was amazing. It was so amazing.
And you did a lot of back-to-back shows as well, just because of like the capacity for COVID. So for like my overseas peeps, basically live shows are back here, but because of like capacity restrictions and not having too many people in a closed-in space, a lot of bands are doing like early sessions and late sessions, which is like quite taxing because were you playing full sets for most of those?
Yeah, we were. And by the end of it, I think because there was one weekend where we did 4 shows in 2 days. So we did like 2 in Adelaide and then we had 2 sold out shows in Adelaide and then 2 sold out shows in Melbourne, which was amazing. But yeah, like by the time we got to Melbourne, I sort of like my voice was real rough. Like, and you would know as a vocalist, like, it's like for once you get fatigued, it's really easy to lose it. So I was just like to the boys, oh, we might have to cut this song out of the set, guys, and ended up like just shortening it a little bit. But got through it without completely hemorrhaging a vocal cord, so that was good.
Yeah, and what's really exciting is this week, the week that we're recording this, Halloween Hysteria just got announced and we're both playing. I'm so excited.
So excited.
Yeah, and because you played it a couple of years ago, hey?
Yeah, we did. I think that was actually it was like 2019, so that would have been like just before COVID, and it was dope. It was so much fun. I'm so psyched to play it again.
Yeah, I'm so excited just to play a show out of Melbourne because
yes, and the lineup pumps too. There's so many awesome bands on that lineup.
There's just so many bands in general. I'm like, how is this going to happen in one day? Like, I'm really, really excited just to go as like a punter and
yeah,
it'll be so good. But yeah, no, it's really cool though because we're both on that show and like we got to support you in Melbourne, which is so much fun. And it's always nice because the Fangs boys were on that show as well, and it's always nice when you play a bill with like friends. I feel like it just jogs my memory of like being younger in bands and like that excitement and that adrenaline of because back I don't know about you, but back when I first started out putting on shows was like mostly the lineups of just my friends and like who I knew.
Yeah, and I like I love playing with new bands as well, but I think there's something extra special about playing with bands that you are mates with in terms of like we totally felt it at that Melbourne show. It was awesome, just like the camaraderie and just that like sort of community just like is infectious, and I feel like the crowd feels that too, and they feel like they're a part of it, and it just really helps like create that sense of just like unity and just like community. And I'm sounding really wanky, but I truly believe that it's there's something really special when you get to like play shows like that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. You can definitely feel it as an audience member because, yeah, I've definitely had experiences on the other side of it as well. But I mean, that leads me on to, I guess, I really want to dive into your journey as a musician because in a lot of interviews, you get to talk about obviously the amazing releases that Redhook are putting out, but not a lot of people may know the journey that you've had, and that it's taken a number of years for you to get to the point where you're at now, where you're like playing festivals and touring, you know, internationally when there was touring, and really making like big strong waves here in Australia and abroad. And you and I met in like 2012. Like we were just like little babies at the time.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And our yeah, we were
now.
in like these like glam rock bands, and you and I like hit it off straight away because we're both into like Guns N' Roses and like the hair metal like bands of the 80s. So I feel like when that fateful night, whenever it was, that we played like some random like festival show, and then we played another bill together and ended up at a strip club, which don't know if we want to go into that story. But
we were kicked out because we bought merch and they wouldn't let us wear it.
Oh yeah, okay. So basically what happened is like all the bands on the bill ended up at this very like, it was not a strip club in the city. It was like we went out.
Classy establishment.
It was very classy, but they had merch though. And they had like hats, which were only $10. And we were like, these are actually pretty cool trucker hats, because I'm pretty sure trucker hats must have been in at the time. And we both bought trucker hats and like high-fived each other at look at our cool like stripper trucker hats. And the bouncer like came up and is like, ladies, you have to take those off in here. And we were like, you just sold them to us.
He's like, seriously though, otherwise I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. Like,
oh my gosh, so funny. So I want to know, I guess, thinking back to those times like in our old bands, and like I guess always having this ambition to do essentially what you're doing now, which is touring quite heavily and supporting like amazing big acts and everything. How, like, what was your mindset like? Like, how did you approach, because this is a music business podcast, how did you approach like the business side of things back then compared to now?
oh man, I think like, you know, like most artists and people in bands, when I was first starting out, I had no idea what the fuck I was doing, you know, and I didn't like, and I think when you talk about the business side of things, I think one thing that's very important is you need to know yourself as an artist. Like, to be good at the business side, you need to know who you are, you need to know what you want to say, and you need to be able to market that, or you need to be able to not even market it, but just, you know, have a strategy to like get that out there. And back then, like, I just wanted to sing, like I just wanted to wail, and just like run around the stage like a maniac. Like I didn't really have too much sense of how to get anywhere. Like I think, you know, thinking back, you know, you just think you play as many shows as you can, and maybe someone will, like, you know, maybe the right person will see you and they'll be impressed and they'll give you like the big break or whatever, like, you know, the the urban legend. But yeah, I didn't really have any idea what I was doing.
So I mean, you were in that band for like quite a few years.
Thanks for not saying it so nobody
I'm like, am I allowed to say it? I'm like,
no, don't say it, because I'm pretty sure that there's like accounts that I've lost the passwords for, that so I can't like delete shit from the internet.
No, don't worry, your secret's safe with me. But going through that journey, and you know, in an early stage band that, you know, your old band did tour a little bit, and you did get interest from like management and stuff like that. I feel like you always had a lot of interest from the industry, like even back then. But there would have come a point where it was time to call it a day in that particular project and start again. What was that like when that project ended after so many years, and feeling like that was going to be your baby? Because this is like definitely something that I relate to, and I've told my story on the pod before. We've got very similar journeys. So what was that like, making that decision at the end of that to essentially keep going?
It was just like a wild punch. Like I felt like, so what happened with my band is like we were just like this, like much like your old band, Mon, like a very 80s inspired kind of hard rock band. We had this guitarist who was just like an absolute shredder. Like he was insane. He's one of the best guitarists I've ever seen. And he moved interstate, and we were just like, fuck, like we tried to find somebody who could replace him and play like him, but we just couldn't. And so it was kind of, so, you know, obviously like coming to terms with the fact that, you know, the band as I knew it was kind of over, and making that decision to keep going. I didn't really believe that, I think at the time, yeah, I really didn't believe that anything would come from it, but I just did it because, you know, I had people, luckily, like I'm someone who self-doubts a lot. I have a lot of self-doubt, but I luckily had enough people around me who believed in me and encouraged me to keep going. And I was just like, oh, okay, I don't really know what the fuck I'm doing, but all right, like just kind of just, you know, just blindly just like swinging into, yeah, it was just like, it was weird. I didn't really have any belief that I would get anywhere or anything would happen. I didn't really know. It was just kind of like, we'll see, just like a wild leap, we'll see what happens. Just keep going. And then, yeah, somehow I ended up here.
Well, I remember that moment. I think it was like my birthday party where you had gotten a DM from the booking agent that books like Download Festival UK, and it was just after you released Stereotype. And you'd kind of gotten this random DM from this like booking agent from Download Festival UK, like on Facebook, was it?
I think it was over email. I think you just
Okay.
you just sent us an email. Yeah.
I've glorified this story then. I'm like, did you get like a Facebook DM? So
slid into those DMs.
yeah, but it was like out of the blue. And I remember you kind of when you got it, you were kind of like, is someone catfishing us? Like, is this real? What was that moment like?
It was okay. So it was like, while it was quite surreal and I was very skeptical, having come from my previous band where, you know, we'd had, you know what it's like when you're at that really, really, like, you know, still first starting out, you're still like a fledgling artist, and the shark circle, you have so many people claim to be or promise you things that they can't deliver. Deluded crazy people that just seem to and narcissists that and pathological liars that seem to gravitate towards this industry for some reason. But and being burned by having plenty of those experiences before, like I was I was very kind of not cynical, but kind of took it with a grain of salt. It was just, you know, kind of like, oh yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, sort of thing. But at the same time, the context of that happening was, which made it like which made me a bit less skeptical, was like literally the day, I remember the day that we released Turn Up the Stereotype. It was just insane. And that to me, more than anything, I guess illustrated like the power just of a song, of one song, even if you're a band that nobody knows, like if you know you write a really, really strong song that just connects with people somehow, like I don't know, just has something about it, whether it's, you know, the lyrics or whether it's the, like it's just different enough or what, like whatever it is, like it's that I can't really define what that is, but like that day we had, like it was just like an explosion, like it was just like had 6 booking, like we'd never, like, you know, we were one of those bands that had definitely like been like, you know, trying to chase booking agents to pay attention to you and they don't reply to your emails and all that, and all of a sudden, you know, we had like 6 different agents from like the biggest agencies in Australia like wanting to meet up with us, wanting to talk. We had like heads of like A&R at like international labels sliding in. So like the Download thing came off the back of that.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit less skeptical, I guess, but still it seemed like it was very like sort of Australia that who's come play the biggest metal festival.
So crazy. Hang on, your audio is just like cutting out. I don't know if it's my internet or I can't hear you. Have you got a microphone plugged in or something?
I don't, because I'm not very technologically apt.
Oh, okay. It sounds good now.
Is that a bit better? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if anything happened, but it was probably just the internet. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, so what happened after that? Because you'd released your first single, Minute on Fire, a couple of months prior, and then you released Turn Up the Stereotype, and that was really the catalyst for going from kind of like things from 0 to 100, in the sense that that gave you like a lot of exposure.
Yes.
It's like was very, very highly streamed, I remember, and the video went nuts as well. And all of a sudden, as you say, you had all these people kind of knocking on your door. What happened next? How did you figure out what the next steps were in terms of like choosing a booking agent, maybe like looking into like management, like what, like were you bringing people
Yeah.
onto your team
Well,
really
it
quickly?
was it was crazy. Well, with us, it was kind of like it felt like a bit of like a feeding frenzy, like because we had labels and booking agents and managers all kind of like, so I remember like things were just so mental. Like Craig and I would be on like, three different, like, because we were still working full time and also like trying to like write more and record and like just, and then like we'd have like three different, like whether it was like Skyping with someone in the US or like getting on like a call with someone in the UK, or like going to have beers with someone with a booking agent in Sydney. And it wasn't just one, like it was just the constant conversations, especially like with the management side of things. That was obviously that's such a big decision to make, and having like several options. I think, I'm someone who overthinks everything. So it was like a really hard, really difficult decision to make. But in the end, with, yeah, so it was just like kind of like making that choice. And the kind of like, and the good, I guess one of the good things was like the booking agent manager, like combinations, because like a lot of the booking agents like wanted to like work with the different, and we just found like a pairing that just like with Edwin at New World and Rob Nassif, who's I think his Hen House is his management company name, but yeah, like that just felt right. And also funnily you mentioned Download, because Sean Ryman from Live Nation UK, who's the one who booked us on Download in 2019, he was actually the one who match made us with Rob for management. Like he was just like, you've got to like, it was really sweet. Like he really like just took an interest, and he was like, you've got to talk to this guy. Like he's from Australia and he like manages this other band called The Fame, who like have played Download and they're like killing it. And he's like, just give me a favor. Like, would you guys talk to him? We're like, hell yes. Like, Mr. Download UK will talk to this random Australian manager. And yeah, so it was just, yeah, making that. And then once sort of that fell into place, all of a sudden, it wasn't just me and Craig figuring shit out. All of a sudden we had a team of people being like, okay, strategy, like you're playing this festival, like you're doing this, like just booking us on tours. And it just, yeah, like you said, it just, yeah, went from 0 to 100 pretty quick. At that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was really cool to watch from an outsider's perspective. So I guess the next question that I know people will want to know is, how does the balance of the workload, how does that play out? Because I literally just did a live in my free Facebook group about building a team and becoming a team within the band, but also then bringing on team members. And what I find is like a big misconception when it comes to bands bringing on management is they think that bringing on management is going to alleviate a lot of like the day-to-day activities in terms of like social media management, organizing shows, that sort of thing. So I would love, and of course, like every situation is different, but I would love, as much as you're comfortable, to share, I guess, how that plays out in terms of what your booking agent does, what your manager does, and what you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess like for us, we're still very much like run off our feet in the day to day, trying to juggle all the band stuff with like work. Like we still do pretty much everything in the day, like the day to day social media, like yeah, like admin, or like all that stuff, like organizing, video shoots and like just coordinating, like just, yeah, we organize that all ourselves. And in terms of the, like our manager, he's based in New York, And he, I guess, just kind of handles a lot of like the bigger picture stuff, which is like, like pitching us to like Spotify and, just, I guess, figuring out like the bigger plan of where, what the next 12 months is going to look like, and coordinating with our booking agents both in Australia and overseas, to just plan like the live stuff. And then we sort of try and then we just sort of try and arrange our like release schedule around the live stuff that's going on. And yeah, I mean, mostly like in Australia, our booking agent Edwin, like he pretty much books everything. Every now and then there'll be like a random show. Like we played a show with Short Stack a little while ago, and that was just, they just asked us if we wanted to play, and we were like, hell yes. And then we were just like, yo, Edwin, we're playing this show, hope that's cool. But yeah, he's an absolute gun. So yeah, that's the question.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's really good to hear that from someone who's like at your level, because yeah, as I said, it is such a misconception. In terms of like strategically like balancing shows and releases, what do you feel is like the most important element when it comes to having a successful release and backing it up with a successful tour, as you've just done, selling out multiple shows? I know that's like such a broad question, but any advice in terms of, yeah, anything that you can think of that maybe isn't like common knowledge?
In terms of like making sure it's successful?
Yeah, like how did you go about, I guess, marketing it so that it did sell out? Apart from just being an amazing
I mean, stop it. Yeah, that's a good question. We just like, I know that I got really fatigued constantly posting about it. But it worked. Like, I mean, I guess if we hadn't have been posting about it that often, I'm really like, I'm not naturally good at that stuff. And I just sort of freak out. I'm like, people are going to get so sick of listening to me. Like, they just be like, oh, Emmy's posting about her tour again. Shut the fuck up, Emmy. Like, that's what my brain tells me is happening. So it's really like, I really have to like fight against that to just constantly be like plugging shit. But yeah, I don't know. Like in terms of a successful release, I think that's like a different conversation to have. I guess in terms of like for Redhook, we really have built up, like in terms of streaming, we've just really built up our streaming, I guess, our monthly listeners and our like Spotify followers, and I guess like just and our relationships with streaming services, particularly Spotify, just through just constant releases. Like, see, that's something it was very different for us to release an EP, which we recently did. And even now, I've still got a bit of anxiety about the songs off the EP that will never get playlisted because they're on the EP. But yeah, like I guess it was just like we just hustled real hard. Like our first two singles, Minute on Fire and Turn Up the Stereotype. Like Turn Up the Stereotypes. I'll just check Spotify. I'm not flexing here. I'm just trying to demonstrate a point. Where are we?
You want the real stats.
Real stats. I'll show you. Look, I'm on my Spotify for artists. So you can't see. Yeah. You can only see Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, we were like, I mean, you came on with like a hella like 80s or like 90s background. I don't know what, like some random picture. Yeah. And then you changed it to like Jurassic Park. And I was like, I don't know what I can't have just a plain white wall. And I had this plant next to me. So I thought I would like accompany your background with the jungle, and then you've got like the Jurassic Park dinosaur. So really just vibing it up.
So Turn Up the Stereotypes, almost on 724,000 streams on Spotify, which is like no like crazy big deal, but like it is in the sense that song was never never got editorial playlisting because we were still a small band. Nobody knew who the fuck we were, and we had no relationships with Spotify back then. We were just hustling. We didn't have publicists. Like we had advice and we had help, but yeah, we just like really, really sort of hustled our asses off to get that song on as many user playlists as we could, and the correct ones, like ones where we knew that people who listen to those playlists would like the song. So I don't know, like I'm sure you've probably addressed this before on your podcast, but like it's a misconception with some people, like just getting like a song on like a massive playlist that has heaps of listeners isn't necessarily a good thing, because Spotify is so based on like the stats. So like if like your song's on a playlist and like thousands of people are listening to it, but then they're skipping it, like they're listening to it and being like, what the fuck is this? And they're skipping it, or like or it's not getting saved, or it's not getting, like, that feeds the algorithm in a negative way. So you're actually shooting yourself in the dick if you do that. So like, yeah, so just like we just hustled really, really, really hard. And so by the time we got up to this EP release, we had like multiple singles, and every single that we sort of released was kind of just building and building and building. So, and you're just like feeding that algorithm and feeding and also just people's attention spans as well, like by just constantly releasing songs. So I think that strategy is probably one of the reasons why the EP's done so well. I get it, done well in terms of people are listening to it, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's doing super, super well. And that feeds into one of the last questions I have for tonight, which is all about investing in yourself. So there are a lot of like musicians listening to this being like, well, in an ideal world, of course, I'd release, a new single and video clip every like 6 weeks or 8 weeks. Not saying that, I mean, you release music frequently, but it wasn't always like within close succession, but it was like constant, I feel. So for like anyone listening to this that is got in their head like, it's so expensive to be in a band, I could never pull this off, I don't have the finances to record, I don't have the finances to do a video, and they're just DIYing their video or DIYing their artwork, or kind of not taking it to the level that it kind of needs to be in order to get the level of traction that, say, Redhook have gotten. What do you say, like, how do you approach that situation? How did you guys balance that, and what was the mentality behind investing in yourself?
Yeah, I guess it's an interesting question, isn't it? And I like, part of the answer is probably not going to be very reassuring to a lot of people. Like, I sort of, a lot of the time I like because we all work full time, and so much of our money goes into the band. Like and I mean, like, it's nice because we're starting to see it pay off, but it was a grind. Like, it was like a lot of sacrifice. Like, you just have to work super, super hard. And in our case, yeah, like, I don't earn that much money. I'm a journalist, so you know what it's like. But yeah, so like we just like pour so much money like just into the recordings, and just it, and whereas we've had options, like we've had offers to like sign, like we've had record deals like offered to us, where we're getting offered like a big sum of money, but the trade-off with the masters and like, because we can see how it's growing and how it may eventually translate into like an income over time, and we just haven't, like, I would prefer to keep sort of killing myself to and still own everything, and still like, I guess it's like any startup, right? Like, you have to just work super, super hard before you start to see it pay off. Like, anybody who's looking for an immediate, it's a slow burn is what I'm trying to say. Like, anybody who's looking to see like immediate results overnight, like, you're probably I guess you probably need to kind of reassess what your goals are and what's achievable, because that's, you know, in very, very, very rare cases, it's probably not going to happen. So you got to be willing to tough it out and just like pour yourself into it. But one thing I will say, like just on the what you said about, you know, investing in yourself, I don't actually I don't always believe that the most expensive option, like when it comes to like say like music videos, for instance, I don't, definitely don't subscribe to the belief that the most expensive is going to necessarily be the best. I think like it's more important to have a good idea. I think like creativity, like our music video, like say like for Cure for Psycho, like that's, you know, that's resonated really, really well. And like, you know, if we had like 10 grand to pour into that music video, like it would have looked like, it would have been like way more like, you know, I guess impressive. But I think like the concept, like it just, I was super happy with how it turned out, and just the concept was enough that people dug it. Like,
Yeah.
I think there's a balance. I think it's
Yeah.
really hard because it is expensive to. I'm sorry, I'm talking so much.
No.
I think
I'm interviewing you.
Yeah.
It's your show, babe.
All right, I got the spotlight. Yeah, no, it is so expensive to be an artist, and you do have to be very just very strategic about where you choose to put your money. And I think Craig would probably be better to answer this question than me, because I have like a real YOLO attitude where I'm like, yeah, we'll put money into this. And everyone's like, Emmy, like that's probably not like the best use of our money. Like, you know, we need to record, and I'm always like, oh yeah, true. Like I'm just like, yeah, we'll just do it, and then I'll like, you know, figure out the finances later.
Yeah, I'm very much the same.
Yeah.
No, I think what you're saying is right though, like about getting that balance. Like there's obviously going, like you're just not going to see a profit straight away, but it's about having that end goal in mind and not being silly. Like, yeah, $10,000 on a video is like, yeah, definitely not.
Oh, like I'm not gonna name names, but like I was literally I know like one of my mates is in a band, and they do a lot of music videos, and it's not like they've spent about 10 grand on several of their music videos, but then like but then don't put anything into like PR. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing?
Bro.
You have like I think it's just a perfect example of like just like being strategic about where, like you'd be way better rather than spending 10 grand on a music video. You'd be way better spending like 3 grand. 3 grand's going to get you a sick music video.
Yeah, 3 grand's like the sweet spot. I reckon.
3 grand's a lot. 3 grand's more than we've spent on like a lot of our music videos. But yeah, like 3 grand into a music video, and then like 3 grand on PR, and then you got some money left over, baby.
Yeah, exactly. So good. So let me just see if there's like anything else I wanted to ask you. I'm pretty sure that's all I wanted to cover. No, I love your story so much. And yeah, we've had a very similar journey, but also it's been so lovely from my perspective, being your friend and also like peer in the industry, watch your journey over the years and the reinvention, and just how what I admire is how you guys have just embraced every opportunity that's come along. You haven't been afraid of it. You've kind of just been like said yes and figured out the details later. So like, are there any, like thinking about music business, this can be like anything you want. Again, I'm sorry that it's like such a broad question, but honestly, there's so much I could ask you. Any like final parting words, like for a band that's maybe feeling like they're being ignored by the music industry right now? They're like where we were, you know, in 2012, like in our hard rock bands, like just trying to make it. And they feel like they're being overlooked by the industry. Like, what have you got for them?
Honestly, like I think you just have to think about number one is your audience. You always have to think about, like, I think it's more important to think about building an audience than thinking about the industry. Because like if you can cultivate a fan base, like fuck the industry. Like if you cultivate that fan base enough, the industry are going to pay attention. So like that, fans are always number one. And I forget that a lot with Red, like even without, like, so we released Kamikaze as our most recent single, and I like wanted to release a different song, and we were all confused about what to release, so we just like threw it open to the fans, and like everyone was just like, release the heavy one. So I was like, okay, okay, we will. But that's the big thing, is just like focus on fans and the people who you want to connect to, and find a way to connect with them. It's not always easy, but you know, like, I guess it's another topic of conversation, but that's number one. And number two is just like this, make sure the product is good. Like, you know, if the industry are ignoring you, or you're not getting the results that you want, like, maybe, like, sound like a cunt, but like, maybe it's the songs. Like, work with a producer, make sure that like you're competing like with every, you know, you're competing with like the big, like, you know, Spotify is like, you know, I guess not everyone's created equal, but like at the same time, like, your music's going up against songs these that are like, you know, from multi-million-dollar artists, and you've got to make sure that it's like the quality's up there. And it's not hard like now to get songs that are like at that quality. You just need to like work with a good producer and just make sure that your songs are good. And like, and as songwriters, I guess, like, aside from the music side of things, just, you know, try and find your voice, say something that's meaningful, like with the lyrics that you write, like speak from the heart, and yeah, just be honest. Like, don't try to like rehash old cliches, or like, so I think a lot of artists fall into that trap where like they really like a genre and they try and imitate it to the point where it's becomes a bit not genuine. Just be yourself, and don't try and really copy anyone else. Find your own voice and your own sound, and go with it, baby.
I love it.
That was a bit rambly. Hopefully that made sense.
No, it's so good, and it's so true. But yeah, thank you so much for imparting your words of wisdom on the pod, and for sharing your love of the Jurassic era with us throughout.
I'm from the Jurassic era. Thanks for hanging out with me, Mon. It's always a pleasure.